So recently, we have heard a lot about UCC, Uniform Civil Code, which is passed in one of the states. So I want your comments whether UCC enactment is a progressive step or a regressive step with regard to India, especially with regard to live-in relationships. The rest, of course, we all know.
May I just supplement this? You see, in LGBTQ, in adultery law, the courts have been more than what the society wanted them to be liberal. But in the case of live-in relationship, they have suddenly clamped down, registration bhi karaiye, ye bhi kijiye, wo bhi kijiye. So how do you find this contradiction, apparent contradiction? Please address.
Ma'am, with respect to the first question, I believe that UCC is a progressive step, and it reflects that we should codify various laws relating to inheritance, marriage, divorce, etc., and therefore adoption, and therefore ensuring that there is limited scope for limited discretion provided to various intermediaries, and it limits exploitation, specifically benefiting women in various communities. For example, bigamy or polygamy practices.
No, we talk only about live-in relationships, not the others. I said everybody of us is aware how it is going to help women. But for live-in relationships, how is it going to help? Who is it going to help?
Ma'am, if we see this step of the Uttarakhand UCC, specifically their guidelines for live-in relationships, I do not believe that it is a very progressive step because it kind of counters the idea of live-in relationship, which is not based on a very regulated idea of relationship. And therefore, it takes away the autonomy of various individuals as well as the progressive and the liberal idea behind same-sex couples cohabiting together. In my opinion, we should further increase stakeholder participation along the lines of the principles taken by Supreme Court in various judgments in the past, and therefore implement a more reformed idea of UCC with respect to live-in relationships in a broader context.
You know, when Government of India, they framed this act, they must have taken the views of all the concerned stakeholders, most of the sections of the society. And I believe it's a 750 pages report, which has been, approved by the cabinet also. So there must be some thought behind it. Why did the government decide?
Ma'am, with respect to the positives associated with this step and the arguments in favor,
Whom is it going to help? If you are having if any, not you, any XYZ is having a living relationship with another guy, then how is it going to help the guy or the woman?
ma'am, registration of such live-in relationships will provide the benefit of a certain benefit of security to the woman concerned, and this is primarily in the background of certain heinous crimes being seen in, for example, the Shraddha Walker case, which came to light a few months back, and therefore it does provide a sense of security. However, it can actually lead to live-in relationships going underground or in light of the punitive aspects associated with registration, and therefore or limiting the same-sex couples cohabiting together. And therefore, I believe that wider stakeholder consultation and inclusion of the critical comments regarding these regulations should be taken, and a reform can be thought
Okay,
of.
I mean, I'm not going to go forward because, you could have come with more suggestions like faceless registration. Because it is so embarrassing for the couple to go to police station and get themselves registered, and if you're not registered, pay the fine or be arrested or whatever. So if government has thought about
Think it through.
think it
Think it
through,
through.
yeah.
You came to that point about
Ah.
it's not about encroaching on somebody's privacy.
Yeah.
It's about women's safety. If you take that as the seminal thought, then you build your argument around. Think about it. Anyway,
Think
please.
about it,
Yeah.
So since one of your hobbies was debating, and we are talking about live-in relationships, I want you to tell 3 bad points about marriage. since you have done sociology also, why people should not get married? You must have read something about it in sociology.
Ma'am, some arguments against marriage would be as
Yes.
follows.
Yes.
As a woman, I believe that marriage can often take the form of patriarchal institutions. It can be seen through certain religious sanctions. For example, the idea of Karwa Chauth, where woman has to fast for her husband, or certain rites and ceremonies associated with womanhood. The added Furthermore, second argument can be that in a marriage, women often tend to be assumed as the caregiver role, especially after reproduction and having progeny. This often affects their careers. And in the present day situation where female labor force is increasing and the government is also has the target of becoming developed country, with PM Modi announcing that 50% of female labor force participation should be achieved by 2047, we can encourage more women outside of marriage to pursue their career goals. And ma'am, thirdly, we have seen that divorce rates are on a rise and live-in relationships are also highly acceptable, becoming more and more acceptable through judicial and legal reforms. And therefore, I believe that live-in relationships provide an alternative to the institution of marriage. However, having said these points, I do not completely believe in them, but as a debater, I have made my argument.
That was very good.